All right, we left off that Robbie had just gotten to school. One bad apple. That's the name of this chapter. Wait! Robbie held up his hand to hold Doug back. They watched from the back window of the bus until Bo went inside the school building. Okay, said Robbie. Coast clear. Robbie and Doug hurried down the steps of the bus and into the building. Don't get Bo mad at you again, said Doug. Whatever you do, stay away from him. I will, said Robbie. Believe me, I will. Robbie looked both ways down the hall. No sign of Bo. Maybe it would be easy to avoid him.
Mrs. Pumpkin?
Yes?
Ty's going to go to Carline today as opposed to after here.
Okay, thank you. So, who is Doug? You remember who Doug is? Who's Doug?
The boy.
Who's Doug?
The best friend.
The best friend of Robbie. And who's Bo? Anastasia.
The boy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bully, isn't he? Come on, he said to Doug, and they hurried to the third grade rooms. They would look at the names beside the doors to see which teacher they got this year. Robbie hoped that he would get Miss Williams. She was the nicest teacher in third grade. She had a popcorn party in her room every Friday, and she never gave out homework. They stopped in front of Miss Williams' door first and looked at the names printed onto the apples taped to the bulletin board beside the door. Doug began to call out names of the kids who would be in Miss Williams' class. Sue Adams, Letitia Baker, Doug Daniels. I got her, said Doug, pointing at his name on the apple. I got her. Robbie crossed his fingers for luck and looked at the rest of the apples. Please let me get Miss Williams, he prayed silently as he scanned the apples. Please let me get Miss Williams. Here's Matt Jones, said Doug, reading off the names, and Pat Guttrell, and Bo Haney. Bo? Doug and Robbie exchanged looks. Uh-oh. Bo had gotten Miss Williams too. Now, Robbie didn't want to get Miss Williams. He didn't want to be anywhere near Bo Haney this year. He changed his prayer. Now he didn't want to see his name on any of the apples. Please don't let me get Miss Williams. Please don't let me get Miss Williams. Please. Justin Lewis, Scott Nelson, Robbie York, Doug yelled. Right there. He pointed to an apple in the corner of the bulletin board. You got her too, said Doug. Come on, let's go find a seat together. Bo's in there, said Robbie. I don't want to go in. Aw, said Doug. He's already forgotten about the bus. He probably won't even remember what happened. Robbie swallowed. Well, I hope you're right, he said. Slowly he followed Doug through the door and into the classroom. Those Doug and Robbie with the apples behind on the bulletin board.
Robbie's like, oh no.
He looks pretty worried, doesn't he? Hey, it's Wobbie, shouted a familiar voice. As Robbie made his way back to an empty seat, Bo had not forgotten. Yoo-hoo, Wobbie! Robbie opened his backpack and took out his school supplies. When he came to his notebook, he opened it and peeked at his list. Hey, Wobbie, he heard Bo calling him, but he didn't look up. Each time Bo called him Wobbie, Robbie felt a little smaller. But what could he do about it? Last year when Mary Jacobs said the Pledge of Allegiance during an assembly, her voice had been high and squeaky. Bo had called her Squeaky for the rest of the year. The worst part was that soon all the other kids called her Squeaky too. Now she might just as well change the name to Squeaky because that's what everyone else called her. It happened to Albert McGregor. He used to be Albert McGregor. And Katie Bernard. Now she's Katie Barnyard. Last year the names had seemed funny to Robbie. Now that he was about to become Wobbie for the rest of his life, it did not seem funny at all. When Bo changed your name, it stayed changed. He took out his pencil and marked through the numbers on his list. Number 1, get rid of the name Robbie. Beside it he wrote, get rid of the name Wobbie. It was going to be harder to be cool in third grade than he had thought. Next chapter, the underwear problem.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't sound good. In Miss Williams' class, there were only 20 minutes between lunchtime and break time. It was during that 20-minute period that Bo Haney managed to notify the entire third grade class that Robbie York wore superhero's underwear. 20 minutes can be a wonderfully short period of time. It is exactly the length of time it takes to ride the Total Panic roller coaster at Wonder World, which is 18 minutes to wait in line and 2 minutes to ride. To eat a vanilla strawberry swirl frozen yogurt with crushed Butterfingers on top. That was Robbie's favorite. That sounds yummy. To have a fire drill. 20 minutes can also be a terribly long period of time. It is exactly the length of time it takes to get a cavity filled at the dentist, to take a pop quiz in spelling, to eat a large helping of his mother's broccoli casserole. The 20 minutes that it took Bo to notify the class that Robbie wore superhero underwear was the longest 20 minutes of Robbie's life. Bo had noticed Robbie's superhero underwear in the boys' bathroom just after lunch. "Hey, Wobby," he had called to Robbie. "What's that on your underwear?" Robbie was tucking in his shirt. He took down... He hadn't spilled anything at lunch. What could Bo be talking about? "Nothing," he answered. Yes, there is," said Bo. Robbie didn't like the sound of Bo's voice at all. It had kind of a teasing sound to it. Bo had managed to get the attention of all the other boys in the bathroom. They all stopped washing their hands and looked over at Robbie and Bo. "Does baby Wobby have little superhero underwear on?" Bo asked in a baby voice. 2 boys at the seat snickered. Up until the afternoon, Robbie had no idea that there was anything wrong at all with having superheroes on them. All his underwear had pictures on it. Superheroes, G.I. Joe, cartoons. His face was turning red. He was suddenly glad that he hadn't worn the cartoon ones. Robbie hurried out of the boys' bathroom, looking down at the floor. He didn't look up until he sat in a seat in Mrs. Williams' classroom. It was then that the longest 20 minutes of Robbie's life began. He looked across the classroom. He could see Bo working on something at his desk. It was quiet reading time. Bo should not have been working on anything. Robbie couldn't concentrate on his reading. He couldn't think of anything but what was on the paper that Bo was working on. Bo began folding the sheets of paper. He folded it once, twice, 3 times, then dropped it over the shoulder on Tom Ballen's desk. Somehow, Robbie knew that the note was about him. Tom unfolded the paper, then looked over at Robbie. He poked Bo in the back and laughed quietly. Tom folded the note and passed it back over his shoulder to Sue. Then she passed it to Pat. On and on the note went. When the note was being passed down the row of desks beside Robbie, he peeked over and caught a glimpse of the note. It was even worse than he had expected. Picture the note going around. In the middle of the page, Bo had drawn a picture of a boy in a cape flying through the air like one of the superheroes. Under the picture, Bo had written, "Baby Wobby wears superhero underwear." He had drawn an arrow from the words to the boy. Robbie stretched his neck out even further to read the words at the bottom of the page. "It's a burn. It's a plane. It's Super Wobby." Robbie slumped down lower into his seat. He wished a black hole would open up in the floor and just swallow him. He had started the day with such high hopes. Now everything seemed hopeless. He slipped his notebook out of the desk and turned to his list. He crossed out 2, get jeans. Beside it he wrote, get new underwear. Jeans seemed like the least important thing in the world. Now he would settle for a pair of new underwear. The terrible year just got worse. We'll stop right there. The next chapter is called Book Buddies. But we're going to stop right there for now.